creative development process, it goes a couple of different ways, really. I mean, one depends on the inputs you get, depends on the information that you're getting about your audiences. Now, so one obvious thing, you need to sit down with your client and then find out what their needs are from their perspective. But that's only one perspective. Your best thing is also find out what does the target audience want to hear. What do they need to know about this client? What do they need to know about their business and how they could contribute to it? So you've got to get two kinds of input. So basically, the creative development process always starts with good information coming in. As soon as we have the information that we need, where we go from there is we sit down and figure out what are the most creative, interesting, innovative ways that we can solve this problem. Now, there's a couple different ways to look at that. One is what media should it go into? How can we be the most creative possible around the media that we need to address? The other thing, of course, is what message do we need to deliver? So there's a brainstorming session where all the ideas come down, are put on the table, and then it's an implementation thing. We figure out what are our very best ideas. We usually come up with anywhere from 6 to 8 different directions we can come up with. Then we look at them from a strategic lens and say, okay, which of these 8 are really going to address the audience the best? Which of these are we going to be able to message to consistently for a long amount of time? At the end of the day, you have to remember you're coming up with a campaign. You need something that's going to have legs, as we say in the industry, to keep walking out and delivering this message time and time again. So once we've come up with something that addresses the message, we come down with our 2, maybe 3 best ideas. We develop those out. We share them with the client. The other critical part of this thing is getting their feedback and input. Like, does the message seem like it's going to work? Does it make sense? Do we do some concept testing and find out what an external audience feels? Then we synthesize all that, come up with a final deliverable, and then it hits the street. Then we find out what people really think in the real world by delivering the campaign out to our audience. Good creative also needs to break out of the mix. There's always a traditional or standard way to message something, and the truth of it is, your competitors are already answering it that way. So we need to come up with a fresh, new, innovative way to deliver a message that's relevant to our audience, but that engages them, that feels fresh and relevant and new. Because what you want to do for your client is give them a message that is new and more relevant than anybody else's message. So fundamentally, good creative is all about breaking the plane, breaking through your typical messaging clutter and delivering something that's insightful and relevant to the audience that you most want to address. The future of recruitment advertising is only going to become a more online experience. But that's not where the surprises start. The surprises start with what you can do once you're online. The great thing about online is just how one-on-one your conversation can really become. That you can have a direct dialogue with someone online in a way that you really couldn't with any other medium beforehand. Think, as a point of contrast, think to what you can do with direct mail, for instance. Like you could slug in, "Dear John Smith," right? And that was the degree of customization you could really do. Your message was still the same, you just were addressing somebody with their name. We can go so much further beyond that now. Imagine now that you tell us even the smallest thing about yourself online, and we can deliver a message that's completely customized for you. You tell us what your preferences are, we deliver information back. Think about the Amazon model, where you're doing your shopping, the Amazon engine is predicting what it is that you're interested in and sharing suggestions about kinds of things that you would be interested in. We can do the exact same thing in a talent pool. You're on somebody's career site, you indicate just a little bit about the kind of job you're interested in, we can now start to make suggestions for other jobs that might be equally relevant. So if you're not finding exactly what you want with your search, we're going to start to suggest things to you. The other great opportunity is in blogging. We put some information out there talking about what it's like to work there. You can then respond back to us and say, hey, I'm interested in this, I'm not interested in this. You post it to a message board, the blogger then responds to that. You're then having a one-on-one exchange that informs other people, but that's relevant mostly to you. So you get this great one-on-one exchange that lots of people can view in on. And I think that level of customization is going to really drive the future of our business. The best part of my job is a couple of things. One, it's just great to interact with so many talented people throughout the agency. I've got one of the best jobs going, and I work with literally dozens of talented people and making sure that they're plugged into projects and working with clients that they can deliver amazing messaging for. So there's that part. The other thing I love about my job is the strategic aspect of it. Bring me a problem, bring me a challenge that the client feels is unsolvable. They're coming to us because they can't solve it themselves. They're not quite sure what the best answer is. We get to sit down, think about all the tools we have in our tool belt and deliver the best possible solution to them. It's just great when you go into a client presentation, you share some information with them, and their eyes just light up. They're like, you hit it. We had this big challenge, we weren't sure how to solve it, you've given us something we can really work with. I love that part of my job.